Hi everyone, you are tuned into Style Meets Sustainability, where we explore ethical fashion, eco friendly choices, and mindful style together. I am Arpita. I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome a veteran of the fashion and textile media landscape, Mr. Salil Chawla, director at DFU Publications. With an impressive career spanning over 35 years, Mr. Chawla has been at the forefront of shaping meaningful conversations in the apparel and retail sectors. As the leader of content strategy at DFU, a globally respected B2B media house, he has played a key role in bridging information, innovation, and industry voices. In 2024, DFU Publications expanded its impact with the launch of Easitex Private Limited, a cutting edge platform delivering daily updates and in depth insights for trade professionals in textiles and fashion. Today, we will dive into the future of sustainable fashion, the rise of circular systems, and explore how media can be a true catalyst for change in our industry. Mr. Salil, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me and having me here.
Yeah, let's start by understanding your journey. How did you first enter the fashion and textile media world, and what inspires your work today?
Actually, I would say it was more like an accidental entry. I did my MBA way back, from Tier 1 Institute, NMIMM, University of Mumbai. That was way back in 1988 batch. And I joined Mafatlal Group, and I was taken to their Hex Germany, their division, which was collaborated, with them. And in the meanwhile, my brother happened to be a textile technocrat engineer. He started publication called DFU Publication. Spade work started somewhere 1988 October, and formal inception is 1989 July. So my family, after 2.5 years working with the corporate world, they pushed me into this. That they said that you should join. Your brother support him. You are a qualified MBA, from well-known institute. Why don't you support the family business? So that got me into this, but and stumbled into textile and fashion industry. But I am a God believer. I feel nothing happens but by the will of the God. I follow Lord Krishna Gita, which says that Ishwar yat karoti shobnam karoti. So I'm very happy to be in this space. No looking back. Now it's been around 35 years. We are in this space, and DFU Publications thankfully enjoys a very respectable name. And it's a reputed B2B textile and fashion global media. Across India, also, we are well respected. We have a very deep reach and penetration. And this is how I have embraced this space, and space has given me, industry has given me so much, no complaints, no regrets, and I think whatever I wanted out of this, the industry has showered bestowed me best of the respect, best of the reward, and they have appreciated and welcomed us. So I'm very very thankful to Almighty, and happily we are in this space. So this is how I stumbled into this. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, of course you did. And that's such an inspiring path. And now I've never spoken to somebody who's into publication and that too in the fashion field. So today I'm like very excited to talk to you about many things. Now I'd like to understand the industry side. What are the major trends you see shaping the apparel and retail sector right now?
As I have told you, we are in this space since 1989 July. We have seen the total landscape is changed. In last around close to 35, 36 years, we have seen that the industry has, though I am feeling little ashamed saying that our industry is second largest, most highly polluting, only next to oil industry. That being said, it is still an essential this, Evil, because roti, kapda or makan, these are the three cornerstones. And in the civilized world, man is born naked, but you have to be attired. So that being the compulsion of the day, so the textile will continue to be there. Only thing is there is a need to kind of redefine, and we need to now reset, rethink, and reboot this industry to see to it that how well we can try and make it more sustainable. So, and now, in addition to that, climate change has also become a reality. It's a real threat today, and most of the events are, it is not only affecting a common man's life, it is also started affecting the global economy. If someone were to ask, which is the biggest threat to global economy away from Trump tariff tantrums, or away from that, geopolitical tensions, this is climate change. It is going to impact our economies, very, very deeply. And it is going to really shape the way the businesses are being done. This is my conviction, when I apply my lens as a media head in this space for last 36 years. So what I'm trying to drive at is that sustainability is becoming, front and center of everything. It is now centered to any business activity, economic activity, which during the down the line, given the opportunity, I'll try to dig deep into this, dive deep into it, digging my heels into this, that how exactly climate change is affecting the textile industry, making it more like unviable, and not really as investment friendly or preferred industry. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about the sustainability being the front and the center core of all the trends. In your view, what does sustainability and circular fashion mean for big media platforms?
Before I start, I will quickly read what is written on your back. Style meets sustainability. You see, fashion is all about styling, accessorization, because fashion is one ugly phenomenon which changes itself every 6 months. Fashion is all about change. It again takes me back to Gita, which I follow it very uh, arduously, that parivartan mev sthiram asti. Shri Krishna says that change is the only constant. Now, having said that, fashion, change, stylization, presenting every time something new, so that the consumerism, so that the repeats, so that the economic activity keeps happening. Because if we are not offering anything new, obviously there is a limitation to how much one can buy, only to increase the propensity to buy the dresses, so that everyone's wardrobe is full of, attires, both width and depth wise. The You have to push for consumerism. But and this is how the fast fashion also came into being, which was more like, making fashion which has been presented on the runway, how quicker it can hit and come to the common man's level, more like an imitation fashion, wherein that, because world is today aspirational. We are living in the digital world, wherein everybody is exposed to everything. It is not that a poor man is not exposed to what best of the best is available, or what celebrities or the have ones they are been wearing. So if that is the case, we have to be sustainable, because today what we see is that I think more than around 35% of what is bought, is not worn second time. It's more like use and throw, so it ends up going to the so-called landfills. So it becomes garbage. And knowing a little bit about this industry, 70% is around, man-made fabric. around 30% or less than 30% is cotton, which is natural renewable fiber. So here you are aware the biodegradability is a serious issue. Most of these man-made fabric, they take years, if not decades or centuries, to biodegrade. So that means we are adding to words garbage, which is non-biodegradable, and which is also bringing in some many other threats to humanity by bringing in, some of the diseases, some of the carcinogenous diseases, some of the health hazards, so and so forth. I'm not a biologist, so I don't want to venture into that, not being an expert there. So coming back to the sustainability, the issue is that we have to be mindful of what we are buying. The fashion has to be mindful of what is being produced, and the consumer has to be conscious that after wearing or after, the end of the product use, where is it going. So here it has to be all the actors within the space, they have to contribute making words sustainable, right from the regulatory side, that means the government, the industry side, the academia has to chip in their bit, the consumer has to be, she has to be very conscious. Unless or until all this happens, this cannot be a this, so that is what sustainability is all about for me. Former part first, which you have touched upon. As a media, I feel it is like walk the talk. You have to practice what you preach. So as a media, we have thankfully influential voice, and it is only getting stronger. Unless we abuse our powers, media has got a very pervasive reach all across. And today, media has been treated more like a queen, not only king, pampered queen, But question is that are we responsibly using our that tool, that strength we have, that we have developed, which the society or say industry at large has given to us, that status? Do we really deserve it?
I totally agree with you about how everything, all the garments, 35% of whatever everybody buys are just used once and thrown away. And it's actually filling into the landfills. Clearly, according to you, what would be the steps that a consumer can take, or how they can change their mindset about consuming less and maybe consuming very consciously?
Peter Drucker says that there is a global proverbial that, a quotable quote, that if you cannot measure it, you can't control it. So what I'm trying to drive at is that unless or until we have that lens of consciousness, of but knowing that what we are wearing and what kind of impact is it creating, both on the socio-economic side, environmental side, on the communities where it is being manufactured, or stuff like across the supply chain or stakeholders, all the actors within and outside the supply chain. Though a common man cannot be that nuanced of knowing all that, but today I see that generation next, millennials, baby boomers, they all are well read and they are conscious of it, and there are so many channels, available to make them conscious of it, that sustainability is no more a choice, it is life imperative, it is business imperative, it is purchase imperative, it is shopping imperative, so this is what has to be owned and embraced by a common consumer. Because as the economic theory says, push and pull model, push is when it comes to sustainability being pushed to shove by the authorities. That can be the regulatory side, that can be sometimes that if you titrate the burette by squeezing the say investment side, because today many investment decisions are happening around the quotient of sustainability and ESG, green financing, what kind of commitment you have towards net zero, this, have you pledged, if you have pledged, are you into greenwashing, or are you really into it. So much is being read into the lines, and beneath the surface is being studied and is being tried to be interpreted. So there will come a time when textile, if it doesn't really mend its ways, I am not a naysayer, I hope I pray I go wrong on this, the whatever investments are coming to it, the projects will start to the investment will start to dry up on it. So here there is a need of, the consumer, she has to wear the spectacle of the sustainability, and to see in short, as a short message, that whatever I am buying, I not creating any undoing to society, or say to the planet at large, because if I have to survive and if I have to leave a sustainable planet to posterity, to my generation next, there are certain responsibility that onus has to be taken by consumer. If that happens, believe you me, push remains only push. It is the pull which economic theory says that can really run the wheels of economy. So it is the pull which I am doing the advocacy. I am a great advocate of it, that if consumer is conscious, rest will fall in place. Rest assured.
Those are some great insights that you have shared here. And I'm sure through your publication, you are sharing so much information regarding the sustainability and the circularity and whatever you have spoken about right now. With your kind of experience, can you share an example of a brand or retailer using circular systems effectively?
I have a great regard for Levi's. You have asked me why it stands out. The brand, I have a respect for it for two reasons. Though on the face of it, per se, denim wear is, or denim is a water thirsty product. I am not really recalling exactly. Number is not on my side. That per piece of denim, it's humongous, unimaginable, imaginable number of liters, are consumed in the entire supply chain to produce a product called, jeans wear, or denim wear. Now, in that, one of the biggest culprit is within that entire production, obviously goes without saying, there need to be good practices, good processes, all that needs to be there, so that you should be mindful of it. This, wherever it is being produced, you are creating less of impact on the environment, less of the impact on the communities around you. If you can't do good, you have no right to undo. So here what I'm trying to say is that processes like they have embraced processes like waterless washing, waterless treatment. I know a company for fact, that Genealogy, it is a Spanish company if I'm not mistaken. They are the proponent of this technology called waterless washing or processing, which saves a humongous amount of water, which otherwise would have been used, consumed in making of a jeans wear or a denim wear. The story doesn't end here. They are also conscious of it. They have many pledges they have done, I think between 27 to 2030, I beg your pardon, to have that net zero, or a step towards in their journey to sustainability in the form of, what you call uh, carbon neutrality, or carbon positive in some of their processes. Again, it is taking a that, cue out of that Peter Drucker, that they are trying to measure it. That's how they are able to control it, and they also go to the length of going to the post consumer, that, end of the product, post consumer waste, wherein, if I'm not mistaken, some of their initiatives are remarkable. They are commendable, that they take back, they promote and encourage the consumers to come back with their used, worn on, second hand, whatever, which otherwise would have gone to landfill. So that is picked up, it is shred. In some cases it is done the upcycling. Upcycling is wherein you are trying, out of the waste, you are trying to create yarn and upwards for upstream. You are trying to product a garment which is truly sustainable because it has come through that route. Now that is one part. Second is that being in this textile space, little I know is that they are also there in the recycling. Now recycling as of now is possible when it comes to pure play. When it is cotton garment, you can do shredding and all that. You can do recycling when it is man made. But in the case of blend, it is little tricky. It is dicey, I think, so far. Either it's not there or it is still in early days. It hasn't hit to the commercial stage in terms of that technology or that prowess. So here they are doing their bit in terms of recycling as well as upskilling, though still it remains largely denim is still not guilt free. It still remains water rich, water thirsty, but they are trying their bit to minimize, because now you see, as at the outset I made the remarks that in the civilized world you have to attire yourself, and denim is become like a beloved for at least maybe 20 to 40, 45 years of age. Globally, universally, it is like I would say beyond efficiendo wearing. It has become more like compulsive wear, everyday wear. It is now also broken the proverbial glass ceiling in the form of Friday dressing. Many corporate sectors have also, many industrial sectors have also allowed the jeans wearing even on a day-to-day basis during the office hours as a office wear. So this is how Levi's for me is one example which stands out for me.
That's a great information there, and I love Levi's. But recently, I didn't have any sustainable denims, so I removed all the denims from my wardrobe. So, as you were mentioning, around 3,800 liters of water is used to creating one jeans. That much
Yes,
water consumed.
yes,
And then I know one of my seniors from college who's part of a lab called Lumi Labs, where they do no water washes on denims. So they use all this laser treatments and all to give that washed looks and everything. So as you were correctly mentioning, there are these kind of new technologies coming up in the space of denim. So that's lovely to know. And moving from industry to individual, what can regular people do to make fashion more eco-friendly? We have already discussed about a mindset change of consumers, but I want to know how they can be eco-friendly.
I think I will again go back to my point of saying, pulling out of that economic theory of pull. If the consumer starts to become conscious, the entire supply chain will tame into, regardless whether there is a regulatory push or not is there, because regulatory push is only that because governments all around the world, they are supposed to be the facilitators. They have to set their societies right. It is their moral duty, so they are doing their bit. But again, I said that push has only a limited. In physics we used to read push is difficult than pull, so by theory, by fundamentals, it is very basic that pull is stronger. So I am a great advocate of that. The consumer has to be very conscious. Now consciousness has to also convert into this to be supportive, because nothing comes for free in this world. When we are trying to be more sustainable, perhaps there is a load factor. It may, when you are more mindful in your entire process, perhaps there may be some increase in the production cost. So if that little extra is being asked, today buyer is very stingy. Buyer may end spending in XYZ different direction, different categories. Apparel, if I know it for sure, is one product category wherein in last 20 years or 15 years, I read in some serious global study, It is more like deflationary pressures it is being hit by, in the sense that there is hardly any increase. Rather, in some of the categories there is an effective decrease in prices. Prices have come down, in the sense that price parity, and I am doing the parity of that, currency dynamics. Even if it is slightly higher, but when we compare today's currency, given what is the currency value today versus 15 or 20 years ago, actually it has been deflationary. So if apparel industry is under that margin pressures, margin dynamics are more in the southward direction, obviously they will not be able to make it sustainable. So if they want to make it sustainable, the price may go extra. So we should be willing to give extra buck to avoid something which is being made genuinely, it is being made sustainable. So that is one urge I would say. I'll make an appeal. I am also a consumer, in some categories, in all the categories. That is one. Second is that we have to call out, we have to speak out. Unless or until, because consumer has power, unless or until we use our powers to put our foot down, that look, it is not sustainable. Or like what we see in the food categories, that there is a nutritional facts, and without that the product will not be approved by SSAI or say FDA in US or XYZ authorities, whatever they are there in different parts of the world. Similarly, on the sustainability quotient, also, I have been urging on different fora that there is a need, though there are Hague and some indexes are there on sustainability, but I'm sorry to say they are not really covering, the entire canvas or ambit of it. So there is a need that upfront it has to be, if there is some label, something like which is making upfront known to you that where it was produced, the kind of water, this, what kind of impact it has, what kind of carbon neutrality or that status it has got, what is your pledge towards net zero, how are you trying to reduce the carbon footprint going forward, or water footprints. I know that I'm asking for more. It is really very difficult, easier said than done. But if not in that loud manner, in some subtle manner, the consumer has the right to know that one, because only giving a some kind of a claim that we are sustainable conscious, we are this, is not enough, because world has seen enough. There are incidences of greenwashing, which I don't have to really overemphasize. It's well known to it. I am not trying to be an alarmist on this, so here, that is what I'm trying to drive at. That consumer has to ask for. It is consumer's right, in some way. They should be willing to reward, and at the same time, the brands have to be extra this, that they can go for, and it is a proven marketing theory. I am very sure that it gives you an edge. Rather, I see that any brand which has got a sustainability genuine claim, it is its mot. Even if that percentage is very low of conscious sustainable warriors or sustainable buying shoppers globally, it may not hit the critical mass, in terms of numbers, except in some geographies, but definitely that can give you an edge over the competition. And in the competitive landscape, it is important to create some kind of, USP around sustainability, and I think it is worth the while. That is my courage of conviction, so I'm not into manufacturing or in the process. I'm just a media guy, which is like a mirror, seeing here what is happening, down underside, to reflect and disseminate the happenings and developments.
That's actually empowering. And I feel when it comes to buying clothes, I think consumers got used to buying clothes at cheaper price. Now it's getting a little difficult for them to accept the higher prices, but they need to understand what all goes into it to get to that price range. So if people can understand that, I think it's a win-win for the brand that is working hard to have a sustainability lifestyle and giving it to the others. And at the same time, the consumer also is getting a good product which they can use for a longer time. And I love the example which you have given about food. I really agree with you on that as well. Food has some all nutritional requirements and everything to call it as a good food. But clothes also need to have those kind of things upfront, as you are correctly saying. So I also am with you to pledge and to encourage people to get into all this sustainable lifestyle. Now let's discuss content. How can media groups like yours help educate both brands and consumers about slow fashion?
I feel that first and foremost, media is an influential voice, and media has today got the width and depth and wherewithals, bandwidth, which was not there earlier. Now we can reach out, both off and online. Within online also, almost at, I would say, most inexpensive level. You can have using social media for the good. You can have your own channels. You can go for podcasts, you can go for webinars. You can, if you are an influential voice at different fora, if you get the opportunity, you can again become a voice, to try and spread out the good side of sustainability. And since it is a cause, I am sure it will resonate. Anything Satyamev Jayate, anything which is righteous, it has got, Lord Krishna says that Jo theek hai wahi chalega. So anything which is right, it is mighty, it will carry through, it will resonate with the people. So the media has to understand, we have to understand our responsibility, we have to be conscious, in terms of calling out and speaking out and publishing those kind of articles, creating that kind of content. I know that one, there is a need to kind of, to separate the signals from the chatter and noise. There is so much of noise, new generation is somehow lost. Perhaps they have also gone directionless, in the sense that they are not really in, they are lost more in the gossip word or infotainment. I'm not trying to, I'm not against new generation. As I said, Parivartanam sthiram asti. Change is the only constant, whatever change is happening for the good only. But at the same time, that they have to understand that the responsibility lies on their shoulders in terms of trying and creating a content which is, it is again, I'll quote Gita, Satyam Vad Priyam Vad. Krishna says that even you are speaking truth, make it sweet. You don't have to really tell the lie, but there is a way to speak it so that truth also, is sweet enough and it does its greatest good. People should know rather than seeing that too sweet is bitter. So here the idea is that we have to be, as a media, we have to be conscious of the content we create and create something which will resonate with them. If gossip can do well with them, if infotainment can do well with them, like we can try and do the sugar coating of trying and creating the wider, that awareness, the sensitization around sustainability, to let them know that it is one life, one planet. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, unless or until the whole world becomes conscious. It's not that India is an inherently conscious society and country, but that does not mean the whole world. Anywhere in the world, unsustainable practices, it is going to boomerang, it is going to go global. Today we are working into operable world, global village, where it does not respect any boundaries. So climate change is for real, it's a real threat. So we have to recognize it, and as a media we have to keep underscoring the importance of it. And underlying objective of any media is to create the right information, place it in the right hands, at the right time. So I think time is most opportune. We are already late, it should have been done yesterday, but life never ends. So even if we try and minimize or to mitigate the impact is maybe little difficult, but surely we can reduce the impact of it, of GSG, so-called greenhouse gases, or becoming more climate conscious, going for more climate resistant uh, ecology, in the sense vegetation, oxy-rich in and around us. It is pretty possible because where there is a will, there is a way. God helps those who help themselves. If the man wants to help and sees a purpose in it, if there is a thoughtfulness, purposefulness, and we buy, subscribe to this argument of sustainability, I think together we can make it. Nobody can stop it because nature is with us. Nature is already very unhappy, is resenting by showing the bad side of it. That you have already fiddled with me, I have been very benevolent on you, but you have not cared, you have tempered me, and you have gone beyond your mandate. This all was not really required. So this is what it is.
So I love the way you quote Gita in many places, and I am also part of like giving these informative videos and all. I'm not like your publications for sure, but I am in the media segment where I'm trying to give my knowledge about all these things to the normal people who watch these videos. And as you were correctly saying, I'm trying to learn how to sugarcoat my opinions and all the climate change crisis which we are facing. And the mother nature, as you correctly said, is clearly showing that it's time to end all this nonsense which we are creating. So I'm trying to do that sugarcoating part, but not yet there, I think. Looking at the future, how is DFU Publications adapting its content strategy to cover sustainable fashion better?
We are also trying to be a conscious media. God has been kind that we are in this space since 36, 37 years, So we have to be very thankful to our Almighty being in the same space for such a long. So as a gratitudinal this, that as I said that talk the walk. Secondly, I said practice what you preach. And I feel that in very seriousness, that sustainability is front and center since it is the centerpiece today. And as long as you are sustainable, as long as you are conscious, nature also rewards. So in our own interest, हम अपने स्वार्थ में भी, in our own interest also, we feel that we have to impart good practices, so wherever we see, we are trying to create a content around sustainability, trying to create consciousness around ESG, trying to create the consciousness around the green financing, that already there is a titration of burette, when it comes to the textile industry. Textile industry is no more, I'm sorry to say, sunrise industry. The kind of funds going to textile industry is amongst the sectors, it is one of the lowest. Textile has 100% of FDI automatic route, approval. Even then, there aren't many FDI direct, JVs or investments have happened, despite of India having around 1.4 billion, one sixth of the population resides in this country. That means you have such a humongous young population, young demographic capital, which has a buying capacity which is increasingly, because we are now in the process of getting to fourth largest economy. So, and affluence is increasing. The poverty line, that is the day before in some economic survey also, that India has now really pulled off enormously large number of unimaginable, incredible number of people out of the poverty. So despite of all that, textile is not really getting its dues. So we are mindful of it, and we are trying to create out of our small, in our humble capability, in all the humbleness, whatever the reach and penetration we have, we are trying to, go places take it places, through our contents, through our articles, through our slugs, by bringing more and more authored article, requesting them, urging them, appealing them to try and contribute towards this, so that we can build sustainable communities, create that consciousness that look, you have the guilt of being the non-sustainable industry, that sector, enough of it. Otherwise world will give you back. Let's not face that, situation in which we really become off color. The industry which is labor intensive, it has to not only survive, it has to thrive, flourish, because India with a youthful demographic, millions of people are joining in the workforce, labor force every single year. And if they are not provided the jobs, I am sure they'll get to the wrong side of law, they'll become estranged. So it is very important that we try and use utilize, mobilize the youthful, that energy to the right direction. It will only happen when labor intensive industries, my proud industry like textile, will be able to do the heavy lifting of employing more and more people. That will come only on the back of when investments are there. And part of the investment, I'm very sure, the greenback investment, both in green field as well as brown field investment, it has to happen. And India is opportune. India has the workforce, the skill set required for textile. We have wherewithals. We have that, what you call know-how available. India was the first Asian country which has actually, through Gandhiji's initiative of spinning that khadi, has actually introduced this industry to the whole world. So India has it all. Only thing is, I am afraid, as it is very commonly said, that there is a silo approach. India has all its the complete supply chain, but there is a complete disconnect. Sometimes left does not understand right. So this is where the story has gone wrong, So there is a complete need for reset. This is a small understanding perspective I have gathered using my small lens,
That's not a small perspective. You have big knowledge there, and you are sharing it in a such good way. And
Thank you.
I feel, as you were correctly saying, the economy and the job creation is majorly on textile industry, as I can also see that. But now I feel the textile industry need to switch to sustainability, and then keep on giving that jobs to all the people, young generation you are talking about. That way I feel India can go further in a proper good way, not like they're doing anything and any job. And considering the impact, what challenges do you face when promoting eco fashion topics in the media? I've seen many of these kind of topics on your digital platform. So
Thank
I would love to know what happens there.
Though, as I said, that the proverbial that, axioms are sustainable yet fashion, but still I feel that, and style meets sustainability, still I think it's a far cry. I'm not a naysayer, I'm a born optimist, but at the same time, this of the whole pie of that, products being produced, bought, and being patronized, sustainability still is a small fraction of it. It may not be even the cherry picking, or what you call icing on the cake, though it has started to resonate, but still word is far behind, even if it has been said that Europe regulations or all these front runner countries, they are trying to put their regulatory requirement like digital product platform stuff, like, carbon neutrality, or if it is not carbon zero, or there is no pledge against this, of becoming net zero by xyz year. So it will not be bought, this still I feel that it's still not enough, because world is big enough. Even if, though for us, the EU remains the largest buyer when it comes to apparel exports, but for the whole world, it is 7.5 billion close to population, in which Europe is not the only buyer, though it's still the Western Hemisphere, buys and consume most of the textile. But things are changing, and they are bound to change in the coming years. When Asia starts to become very affluent, and sometimes even the dark continent called Africa will also see their movement. Under the sun, it has to happen because the affluence also, like industry, keeps migrating from part 1 to part B of the world. So that being said, that what I'm trying to drive at is that still it is a small pie. So that's why, to be honest, if I were to put my finger on the pulse, I'll be very honest. In the heart of our, I know that though on sustainability we are trying to be a sustainability warrior, trying to write on it. Alone on this may not be enough. You have to be a end-to-end media, wherein you have to also give them, in terms of the information, in terms of letting them know about the other sides, some other developments, in terms of the commercial, in terms of the techno development, in terms of whatever M&A is happening, whatever acquisitions happen, whatever that so-called, bankruptcies are happening in some part, what is happening in retail, what is happening on the consultancy side, wherein industry 4 implementation, stuff like that, all is there. So sustainability alone on that survival is not that easy, unless or until you really create a very, very niche and very narrow kind of, your imagery, wherein you become more like a globally known only for this. But for a commoner, there are challenges, that sustainability still has to become a buzzword. On the ground, it has to really make a change. That is still a far cry. I still see it some time away. I hope it is not decades away. That is all I can pray to God, before the eyes are closed. World becomes a sustainable planet. That is aspirational, and that is what I keep praying to God.
I'm with you on those prayers, Mr. Salil.
Yeah.
And as per my content goes, I'm not as experienced as you. You already have 35 years of experience in basket. But I have my channel and my device from around 10 years. I have seen the same things what you were saying. There is no proper vision. Nobody wants to see these kind of topics. I'm trying my bit, but there is a lot of struggle there. And shifting to mentorship, as you were already mentioning, the younger generation now, they are creating whatever they feel like, and they're not focused on one thing. And you're also saying that we need to have that niche and focused topics. So, as a long time industry leader, what advice would you give to young professionals interested in sustainable fashion media?
I feel that they have to be more, global citizen. They have to be visionary, they have to see beyond their nose. Today, generation has become very, I would say, self-centered. I'm sorry to say, it's not that five fingers are alike. I wish I'm proven wrong on this, but I feel that they are in a hurry to reach there, and they are become very aspirational. As it is said that the resources are finite and the desires are infinite. So we are chasing that infinite desirability, which is not taking us anywhere. So we have to really curb and see what pandemic had taught us, that life is ephemeral. पानी तेरा बुरबुरा असमानुष की जात देखत ही छिप जाएगा क्यों तारा पर भात. Kabira says that, that life, kitni chabi Ram ne bhari hai, nobody knows it. So Corona was an eye opener, but unfortunately, all the changes are not permanent. After 2 years, again, perhaps we have gone back to what we were there. Again, consumerism, all that is driving us. So I'm not against that. Consumerism is how there is expansionism. The economic activities is spurred and fueled out of that only. Out of the ambition and out of aspiration only. This is how you keep your people engaged, and this is how the employment has to be generated. But then it is said that there has to be some balancing act. You have to know that what you are doing is, you mindfully, you have to see that you are very, very conscious. This is what even the conscious fashion is all about, that we have to be very conscious buyer. I like to go deep into this conscious fashion if the question is directly asked to me. But as of now, it is only touch and go. I'm trying to say that we have to be very conscious in terms of both as a seller, both as a part of the supply chain, both as a that regulatory, that environment when we are on the government side of it, out of the stakeholders. And when we are a buyer, we have to be very conscious. If everything is right, two right makes it big right, then this right becomes R with big capital. So I'm vying for that, that R with big capital is the righteous, is the right. I'm sure that it can reset the entire words thinking, and if we can reboot ourselves, this would be renaissance of the word. What will emerge is the best of the best. It's like yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavti bharata abhyuthanam tadatmanam srijamiya. This is out of again Gita. Lord Krishna says, if the things are not set right, then I have to come here to set the things right. Hope that we don't take it thus far a situation, that it goes out of the hand, and only the divinity intervention can save us.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Let's not reach there. And where would you like to see the fashion and textile media landscape in the next 5 years?
Vishwari, aspirationally, I feel that we all should be a party to it. We should gang up, though it is, I know it's a wrong word, but we should all should come together to make this a louder voice. We are influential in terms of, because today we have the reach, we have the overtures, we have the penetration, we have the bandwidth to taking it to global, and what used to take days together, within seconds anything viral can become a global buzzword. I have to say here that I wish there is a virality to sustainability. The entire media is listening to me, and I wish and pray to God I am being taken in the right sense, and if my voice is in the right direction, I wish and pray that it resonates. So that media has to do its bit. Obviously, that papi pet ka sawal hai. You have to get into, what you are doing your best. The commercial side has also to be taken into account. End of the day, it has to be a right balance, that economic activity has to be sustainable. So economic activity also has to be sustainable. That is the underlying message I am saying, that everything has to be sustainable. When the economic activity has to be sustainable, so has to be the buying, so has to be selling, so has to be producing, so has to be the talk of the town, so that it resonates. In physics, it said that parallel removed. When parallax only gets removed, the sound of tongue resonates when two hands clap like this. So it has to be a complete exercise, that all the actors in the supply chain in this world, if all they recognize sustainability ka importance, here we go. That would be the ideal most situation, happy most situation. I wish that we are in real world, and these are the real words.
I wish the same alongside you, Mr. Salil. And what one message do you want our listeners to take home about conscious fashion?
Conscious fashion, as the name itself, it's a normer, it's not a misnomer. It says that you have to be conscious. What is consciousness? Consciousness is mindfulness. That means we are taking any decision, in the utmost consciousness. We are trying to read between the line, we are trying to see beneath the surface, what all goes into it. If some product is really cheap, we can see it with an eye of suspicion that is it not been produced in sweatshops where the minimum wages are not being paid, or they have not been true to their, they have not been kind enough to their stakeholders, to their suppliers, to the ecosystem partners, the society where they are working. Are they not trying to create any negative impact? The environmental impact also is not really deep enough, that it hurts my mother. As again, I'll quote out of Gita, Janani Janam Bhumischa Swargadapi Griyasi. Krishna says that one mother is which bears you, in the tomb. The second mother is which has born your entire life, because we are not mrigas charanti, we are not like animals, we are not come here to eat the grass, for the grazing. So we have some responsibility. Human being is a very conscious creature, created very consciously by Almighty, by God. So one has to be conscious, and we should also be open to see that if it is consciously produced, let's reward the supplier. Ultimately, if we are letting anybody earn, so obviously there is a giving back. Nature always takes care of your interest. Kar bhala so bhala. Krishna says, So if we are doing good by rewarding, a consciously produced, mindfully produced product, definitely I think we also get something out of that. So that is what I feel, that there has to be a consciousness in the true sense of anyone who is producing has to be conscious of his role. One who is selling has to be conscious of his role. One who is buying has to be conscious of his role. One who is dumping has to be conscious of his role, that what is going beyond what is meeting the eye. And the governments also, they don't have always to be in the appeasement politics, or say the political not, it doesn't need to be political economy always, as I have read somewhere, good economics makes good politics. So we have to rise above the law, and see to it that we become a conscious citizen. And a conscious citizen, I think, will wear a lens in which everything will be seen out of that conscious eyes. It is all in the beholder's eye. If that is the ideal situation, I think world will be a changed world, and we'll be proud of it. So this is the duty we have towards our planet. Let's make this planet sustainable. I think rest we leave it to nature, will take care of. It is very benevolent. It will do whatever best it has to do to take care of us. We don't have to be really be very self-centered, that we should not live only for today. We should live for tomorrow, if not till day after.
That's lovely, Mr. Salil. Now let's move on to a fun rapid fire question, which I call as snappy seconds. So, simple questions, one word answer or one sentence answer. So, are you ready for it?
I'll try to be honest to see whatever all I can answer.
Yes, yes, let's go for it then. What's your go to upcycled clothing piece?
For me, anything which is consciously been upcycled, there is no greenwashing. Even if it is a small piece of, like hanky, I think that will be close to my chest. So I am not really into that. A small piece also, small inch of made out of that also, I think needs to be appreciated. I would be as much appreciative as I can. And
Oh,
hats off to that spirit, salutary spirit.
yeah, that's perfect. Slow fashion or fast fashion?
For me, slow fashion, because I am now no more Gen Z. I'm in that so-called, sluggish metabolism phase. So slow fashion is here.
Okay. Favorite fabric for eco-friendly clothes?
Favorite fabric would be anything which is made out of where there is less of resources. Let me not make drop in the name and make others this, or be it that, I don't want to deplore others. So
Yeah.
here, anything which is made out of least resources, renewable resources, genuinely made in conscious matter, that fabric for me is most sustainable fabric.
Okay, I was hoping for a name which you can mention, but it's a
Maybe
very smart.
hemp, if you want, I am somehow, a big fan of hemp. I don't know how far all these categories are met there, but somehow hemp resonates with me.
Okay, perfect. One word that defines circular fashion.
For me, circularity is all about being conscious. That means it's like stretching 1 rupee to maybe 1.1 rupee, in the
Mm.
sense that try and use minimum resources as minimum as it requires, and be as honest to try and use it maximum, so that the economic activity and the buying is conscious and it justifies enough, that you have not really, there should not be any guilt around that buying. For me, that is circular fashion. I know it is not Wikipedia definition, but in a very, very loose terms, whatever comes straight from my heart, I have not minced the words here.
Yes, yes, I wanted that kind of answer only, Mr. Salil. So, best tip for buying less.
Best tip is, I think, for me, smile is contagious. I
Okay.
think money is ephemeral. It is short lived. I have read and in many places, that a smile can buy many faces. Smile
Hmm.
can buy many sorrow hearts. So for me, smile is the best way to give tips to somebody who deserves to have done a good job.
Ah, that's great. Sustainable capsule wardrobe essential.
Again, something which I feel was sustainably made. I feel, because the claims are not been made, as I said, like nutritional fact. Something I feel, with a little knowledge and understanding that it is sustainable. I think I'll keep it close to here, close to as a most beloved attire in my wardrobe. I don't want to name it because I have to find that, and I think my vote would go for it.
Ah, lovely. Digital or print media, what influences you more?
I feel that we are living in the world of omnification. Omni-channel is the way forward, because God has made everything double entry.
Mhm.
Two, two, even nose seeming one has two nasals, So
Yeah.
everything, day and night, flower and thorns, sorrows and happiness, success and failure. So there has to be a purpose. I want to regard nature because nature is immaculate. It is
Mm.
flawless. So that gives me clue enough. I feel that both off and online they have their goods and bads,
Mm.
and the beauty lies in trying and optimizing the two and
Mm.
do the best out of it. As long as you can justify the two, here lies the balance. I think you will not go wrong. So life is all about being hybrid and balanced.
Ah, yes, I agree with you on that. Office or home, where do you consume most of your fashion media?
I am a family man. I pray to God. I do whatever is demanded and what is my duty towards my family. But at the
Mm.
same time, as I said, life is all about double entry system.
Mhm.
You have to be honest to your work, because ultimately he's seeing everything. Mansa vacha karmana. Again, I quote Krishna ji. He says that man, vachan or karam, he is reading everything of yours. So if I am trying to be dishonest at the work, God has seen me. He will not spare me. So I think one will have to be very honest to whatever you do, not for the employer, only for yourself. If you are doing good for yourself, you are doing good for your organization, good for your society, good for your nation. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, you are doing good for the entirety. So you have to be honest. If you are honest, God will take care of you. So I think for office and this, it is, you have to be honest to your working at both the places.
Yeah, that's lovely, Mr. Salil. And that's where we end today's conversation. Mr. Salil, this has been such an
Thanks
eye
for
opening conversation.
having me here. Thanks for
Yeah,
the opportunity. God
yeah.
bless.
Thank you for sharing your expertise and vision for sustainable fashion media.
Pleasure is all mine.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember, every choice you make can shape a more conscious wardrobe. Catch us next time on Style Meets Sustainability. Stay inspired, stay mindful, and keep making meaningful style choices.